Today I'm truly excited because I'm going to share the step-by-step process that I used in my journey to lose currently 105 pounds while living with type 2 diabetes or diabetes mellitus. The first 2 months of being diagnosed a type 2 diabetic was very challenging for me. I had tried all kinds of diet. I had tried the cabbage diet, soup diet, military diet. It was all not working for me. They were all short-lived and pretty difficult to sustain. After some time, about 2 months into taking medications and insulin shots very diligently, I realized that I was marking time and only slapping a band-aid on my issues rather than trying to solve them. At some point, I threw in the towel, stopped all medications, and decided that I was going to try to reverse type 2 diabetes on my own. At the time, weight loss was not even part of the process for me. I just wanted to get healthy. The weight loss was only an addition to getting healthy. Currently, I'm 105 pounds down, and even though considerably by the statistic, I'm still overweight, I am the healthiest I have been in a very long time. Hi, I'm Miriam, and welcome to Everything Life. Just a disclaimer, what worked for me may not work for you, but so far the processes that I have shared have helped people also reverse type 2 diabetes, and I'm hoping that by me sharing this, it would help somebody out there who is also struggling with type 2 diabetes or simply trying to lose weight and adopt a healthy lifestyle. The very first thing that I did was I understood my body. I know I have mentioned this in previous videos. I probably did not go into detail, but what I mean by knowing your body is observe your body. Anytime you eat anything, observe how it makes you feel. Does it make you feel good or does it make you feel tired? When you begin to notice these patterns, it makes it easier to know what types or kinds of foods that work for your body and the ones that do not. Always monitor what you eat and how you feel after what you've eaten. That will make you understand what works for your body and what does not. And if you realize that some things don't work for your body, but you enjoy these things, don't cut it out completely, just reduce your portions. Because many a time what gets us into trouble is the amount that we eat and not necessarily what we eat. The second thing that I did is I downloaded an app called MyFitnessPal. Now that app helps you track your macros. Macros are basically macronutrients that you eat the most of that gives you the most energy. So for instance, the carbohydrates, fats, and protein that you would take in a day, that app tracks it for you. It gives you the amount of calories that you should consume for your body weight and your height. What I did was, after I put in all the details that they needed, I also put in my target weight. When you put that information in, the app would calculate how many calories you need to eat per day in order to attain your target weight over a certain period. Just to put it out there, I am not being sponsored whatsoever by MyFitnessPal. It is an app that has helped me keep my weight and what I eat on track and in check, and that is why I'm sharing it, because it does work. I had to go for the paid version because I am African, Ghanaian to be precise, and we have specific kinds of meals. Now, those meals cannot be obtained on the free app. And because I really wanted a change, I saw that investment as a small investment towards my healthy goal, because the amount of money I was spending on medications was 100 times more than how much I used to pay for the app. If you know of the app or if you have the app, try the free version. Log in your food. It really helps. The third thing I did is I tried different experiments. So throughout my journey, especially when I got off insulin and medication, I started experimenting a lot with my body and with food. So for instance, I would say, okay, this week I'm cutting my carbohydrates very low. I'm going to focus on eating more fiber-rich and protein-rich foods this week. The following week, okay, I'm staying away from sugar and all sugary foods, all sugary drinks. See how it would work with my body. Let's just see what happens. Or I'm going to eat within a certain period and not eat after that. Let's see what happens. So I tried different experiments along the way, and that also made me know what worked for me and what did not work for me. In certain weeks, I will say, okay, I'm going to go 3 days without eating any simple carbohydrate foods like donuts, cookies, ice cream, and so on, and then see what happens. And I realized I had more energy. But those short-term experiments are not sustainable. So they are exactly what they are: short-term experiments. You can use them to attain a goal. You can use them to lose a certain amount of pounds, or you can use them for whatever reason, but they are not sustainable long term. So you need to have a sustainable, healthy lifestyle, long-term approach in place before you start incorporating these short-term goals. But what I find most people doing is they incorporate the short-term goals without having a long-term goal. And so for the short term, they would attain their goal and lose X amount of weight. But then because there is no long-term sustainable lifestyle that is adopted, they end up gaining it all back and doing the same thing over and over. I used to do that too, but when I realized that I needed something that would work for me long term, I had to find ways that were sustainable. So anyway, back to it. I tried short-term experiments. Even though I had my long-term goal and had adopted a long-term lifestyle of what I wanted to do, keeping a low carbohydrate and a high fiber, high protein diet throughout, without depriving myself, without starving myself, I also did these short-term experiments. So try it. 1 week, do away with all chips, all cookies, all carbs. See what happens. In another week, just try eating within a certain period or time frame and see what happens. It really does not hurt. Like I said, I have tried the cabbage, military, soup diet, name it. They only work for a period. They are not sustainable. So do these experiments when you have found your long-term sustainable way to keep you healthy. And these short-term experiments will just facilitate and speed in or quicken the process. And I must say this, I added things on. I didn't start by this massive restrictive diet that a lot of these diets encourage us to do. I started small. I changed one thing at a time. I went step by step and added on over time. That is what works. The fourth thing is I started intermittent fasting. So about 3 months into me trying to figure out what I needed to do to reverse my diagnosis and what I needed to do to lose a certain amount of weight, I discovered intermittent fasting. And when I started, I didn't even know I was practicing intermittent fasting. All I knew was I needed to give my body a break from digesting food. So I decided I will eat for a certain period and then allow my body to rest for a certain period. Unknowingly, I started with 12-12. 12-12 being that you eat 12 hours in the day and then you fast 12 hours the rest of the day. I would eat between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. and then from 6 p.m. all the way to 6 a.m. the following morning, I would not eat. I tried that a few days and I realized it wasn't that bad. I could do more. So then I decided and then started 16-8. 16-8 meaning that I eat within 8 hours of the day and I fast 16 hours in the day. It really is not as bad as it sounds. 16-8 is simply you eating from 8 a.m. in the morning to 4 p.m. in the evening. So you have a whole 8 hours to consume whatever that you need to consume. And then from 4 p.m. to the following day, 8 a.m., you do not eat. Some people find it better to do 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. That also works. It really doesn't matter. As long as you eat within an 8-hour period and ensure that you stop eating by 6 p.m., that is okay. There are different time frames that I used and different processes that I used with intermittent fasting. But what was easiest for me and worked for me was starting small. I started with a 12-12, and initially when I started with a 12-12, after a few days, I realized that sometimes I would eat at 8 p.m. During the subsequent days, I ensured that I was done eating by 6 p.m. And when I got intentional and made sure that I would not eat by 6 p.m., I got used to the process and it got easier for me. When I got used to 6 p.m., I moved it up to 4 p.m. And then when I got used to being done eating any solids by 4 p.m., I bumped it up to 3 p.m. And that is how I was able to sustain it. I added on step by step. I didn't just jump in. I allowed my body to get used to it and I adjusted it along the way as I moved on. I ended up cutting down the amount of time that I used to eat. So within an 8-hour period, I realized that because I was eating fiber-rich foods, which kept me full for longer, I was eating more and more. And at some point, I really did not need to eat, even though it was time for me to eat. And that is what helped me bump up the time over time throughout my journey. I also do 24-hour fasts once every other week, or sometimes once a month. There is really no formula to it. You just have to observe what works for you. For me, because I was trying to reverse type 2 diabetes or diabetes mellitus, as some may call it, I usually did a 24-hour fast every other week so that my body could get into a state of autophagy. When you get into a state of autophagy or autophagy, your body breaks down dead or sick cells and it replenishes it with new healthy ones. Ever since I added intermittent fasting to my regimen, I always wake up with so much energy, ready to face the day with a lot of excitement. I must also say that during the time of intermittent fasting, don't just sit there waiting for the time to be up so you can eat. You will get frustrated. You will get depressed. Pray. Pray to God to give you the energy and the drive to keep moving on. That's what I did. During the days that I had to intermittent fast, I would wake up, sit, just meditate and pray. Pray to God for energy. Pray to God for His will to be done in my life. Pray to God to give me the strength to move on, because this journey is not an easy one. The fifth point I would talk about is control your portions. It is not what we eat. It is how much of what we eat that gets us into trouble. So throughout my journey, if naturally I would eat 3 donuts or 4 donuts, and don't judge, it happens. Instead of eating 3 or 4 donuts, I would eat half a donut. And I would log it in. I will document it to ensure that I know exactly how many carbs and how many calories that I'm taking in with that donut. And that is where my MyFitnessPal comes in. Because controlling your portions on your own can be quite difficult. You can take a handful, that is the recommended intake. but a handful can be relative. And many a time, if you say handful, are you talking about heap handful or flat handful? It can be very difficult to try and control your portions when you don't really have any way to measure the portions. Handfuls work. That is what I started with. A handful of this, a handful of that. But it doesn't give you an approximation of how much you're taking in unless you are extremely disciplined and you stick to that regimen of making sure that you take a handful of whatever grains that you are eating. But if not, like I said, that is where MyFitnessPal comes in. So you take that slice of bread because you haven't eaten bread for 3 days and you're craving bread. You take that slice of bread and you document it. And honestly, I really do not believe in you depriving yourself. And I know I have mentioned this, but I cannot reiterate it enough. You trying to cut bread out completely or cut cookies out completely or cut ice cream out completely, it is not sustainable. Practice things that you can sustain. So if you're going to have that ice cream, instead of having 3 scoops of ice cream, have a scoop of ice cream. If you're going to eat that cookie, instead of eating the whole pack of cookies, take 1 cookie. If you're going to eat that donut, instead of eating 3 or 4 donuts, eat half a donut. It is really not that bad. It doesn't have to be that difficult. And honestly, if you're going through a diet that is that difficult and asking you to deprive yourself, I would say run in the other direction, because what that did for me was after I deprived myself, I ended up binging on the same things that I was depriving myself from. I'm not saying it's not great. It has worked for some people, and that is great. But for me, it did not work for me. And I know that several others out there like me who it's not working for. So don't deprive yourself. Just reduce and control the portions of the simple sugars and the grains and the not so good carbs. Reduce the portions. Portion control is the key. The other thing I did is I limited the amount of sugar that I do take in. Everything that we eat contains sugar anyway, and aside that, every carbohydrate that we do take in breaks down into sugar. So why should I add on sugar into my meals? I stopped sugar is one thing I cut out that I can say. I cut out completely, because if I eat bread, if I eat cookies, if I eat rice, if I eat pasta, whatever that I ate that had simple carbohydrates in there broke down into sugars, and this sugar turned into fat. So why should I take extra scoops of sugar and put it in my tea, or take extra scoops of sugar and put it in my porridge? No, because sugar adds on to your calories too, and it really does not help. All it does is give you a taste. So I got a substitute for sugar, and that was stevia. In buying stevia, make sure you buy the one that has only 1 or 2 ingredients in it. Stevia being the main ingredient, and that's it. If you're taking in coffee or tea or any other beverage that you would naturally add sugar to, instead of sugar, use stevia. Over time, you realize that you really don't even need to put in the sugar to be able to drink it. Cutting it out can be tough, and that is why I researched and got the substitute stevia. But currently, I drink my teas and my coffee without sugar, and it really is not that bad. Sometimes when I feel I want to have a little bit of a taste, I put in the stevia. But even with that, I'm very careful how much stevia or sweetener that I do take in a day. Because even though it says 0 calories, you cannot overdo it, especially if you're diabetic or if you're trying to reverse type 2 diabetes or diabetes mellitus. One thing I would also add is, if you're a Starbucks fan, stop going to Starbucks and requesting the extra caramel, the extra cream, the extra sweetener, the extra sweet. It does not help. If you look at how many calories are in that cup of Starbucks, it will shock you. Plus your extra caramel and your cream and all the other add-ons that you put in there. Just keep it simple. If you are going to have all the extras, then make sure you're cutting something out in the day. But don't add on the extras and eat everything that you naturally would eat in the day. That just adds to your extra calories and your extra carbohydrates in a day. Better still, make your coffee at home. It really is not that bad, and currently it does not really taste any different to me. The only thing that is different is I know exactly what is going into my beverages and my food because I make it at home. Remember, it is the moderation that counts, not the sugar, the moderation of the sugar. The next point will be drink more water. Stay hydrated. I cannot emphasize this enough. Staying hydrated really helps. The body is made up of 70% water. So you not taking in enough water is really doing your body a lot of harm. Every day in, day out, we eat and we pile all these things into our bodies. When we drink water, water allows our system to be flushed out. It rinses out all the toxins and the waste that is left in our body after consuming all that food throughout the day. So drink more water, half of your body weight in ounces. Get yourself some protein shakes or some protein bars. Something that you can nibble on when you're hungry, when you're up and about. Because sometimes you cannot always meal prep. It can be difficult, but if you have a good enough protein shake, you can quickly shake something up and then drink it. That would keep you full and not cause you to buy fries and a burger outside. That would make you consume thousands of calories in one meal. In buying the protein shakes or the bars, do well to check the labels and make sure that you are looking at the label per serving. If your serving size is 1 scoop, then what that label is telling you is that in that 1 scoop, you are consuming 100 calories or more, and you are consuming 15 grams of carbohydrates or more or less, depending on how many grams of carbohydrates are on the label. Do well to check how much protein you are taking in. If the protein shake is a good protein shake, it would have between 15 grams and 30 grams of protein per serving. If you're getting anything below 15 to 30 grams of protein per serving, I'm not saying it is not great. You just probably want to get a better alternative. We are done losing the weight and piling it back on. You cannot do anything without being consistent. Stop trying things and giving up on them. You've got to keep going. Consistency and sustainability is the key. Consistency is all you are missing. Keep an open mind and adopt methods you can sustain. I hope you learned something. I hope you got some tips. If you have any questions, do well to leave me a comment. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Until next time, remember to be bold, be beautiful, be true to yourself and to others. Stay healthy and always be you.